All right, we're on to Chapter 4 of Marx's Capital, Volume 1. Chapter 4 is the general formula of capital. In the first 3 chapters of Capital, we looked at what commodities are. We looked at Marx's labor theory of value. We looked at commodity exchange and how money arises out of the system. We haven't actually addressed capitalism itself. We've been looking at all of this from the perspective of small producers, handicraftsmen, that kind of thing. There are liberals who will defend capitalism by saying, if we're both on an island and you have oranges and I have apples and we trade, that is capitalism. But that's not capitalism. Believe it or not, capitalism involves something called capital, and we're going to have to understand what capital is. Chapter 4 and the next 2 chapters make up Part 2 of this book. Part 1, the last 3 chapters we looked at, deals with commodities. Part 2 deals with the transformation of money into capital. So we're going to start talking about capital and the capitalist mode of production now. To start, let's look at money as capital. What does it mean for money to be capital? Let's think back to the commodity circulation form that Marx talked about in Chapter 3, Section 2, the CMC circuit, where you sell in order to buy, so that you can basically exchange one commodity for another. But let's look at it from a different angle, buying in order to sell. This takes the form MCM, money, commodity, money. Now, just as with the CMC relation, we had 2 antithetical phases represented by a unity of opposites. On the one hand, we have the conversion of money into commodities, and then on the other we have the conversion of commodities into money. Why would you want to buy something in order just to sell it? You don't seem to have any need satisfied that way, because you don't end up with any particular use value other than that money. The whole process boils down to exchanging money for money rather than commodities for commodities. If you buy a loaf of bread for $5 and then sell it for $5, you're just wasting your time. Now, if you're lucky, you could sell it for $7 and make a profit of $2, or if you're less fortunate, you might sell it for $3 and be short $2. So even if you're setting out to buy something just to sell it at a higher price, you can't be sure you're going to make a profit. There's an inherent risk involved in this, and so someone who just wants to hoard their money isn't going to expose it to the dangers of circulation in this way. If you're buying commodities to sell, your money is acting as capital. Its purpose is to advance itself. You're trying to increase how much money you have by strategically buying and selling. Here is where Marx defines capital as money that is advanced, or money that is being used to make more money. Or at least money that is trying to be used to make more money. Note that between the CMC and MCM circuits, there's different objectives being sought. If you're selling in order to buy, your main goal is use values and how they may meet your needs. But if you're buying in order to sell, the MCM circuit, then your goal revolves around exchange values. Obviously, the goal of this is to make more money. If you buy something and then sell it for what you bought it for, you haven't done anything, and the money you started with and the money you ended up with are indistinguishable. What makes this qualitatively different is to have a higher quantity of money at the end of this exchange. So let's say you buy something for $10 and then you sell it later at $11. You've made $1 in profit. Since the money on one side of the MCM circuit is not equal to the money you got back on the other side of it, we have to modify that formula a bit. So rather than simply MCM, we have a new expression. MCM prime. Money to commodity to money plus surplus value. This is the general formula for capital. M prime is the original money advanced plus an increment. This increment is what Marx calls surplus value. The original investment remains intact and adds a surplus value to itself, or as Marx says, it's valorized. The act of valorization makes the money capital. So if you buy something for $10 and then sell it for $11, you can reinvest that $11 by buying $11 worth of something and selling it for $12, making more money each time it goes through this circuit. Note another major difference here between simple commodity exchange and capital. When you sell in order to buy, you're acting to achieve some goal that exists outside of circulation. You're trying to meet some need outside the circulation process, but if you're buying in order to sell, your goal is to make money. Here, the circulation process is the point. The valorization of value only takes place in this circular motion. A person who is consciously doing this, having their money make money, is called a capitalist. The capitalist's goal is the pursuit of more money, not satisfying use values. Their goal is exactly the same as the miser, the acquisition of more and more money. But the capitalist is different from the miser in that the miser protects his wealth by keeping it out of circulation. But the capitalist is constantly throwing their wealth back into circulation to get more back. And that's the end of Chapter 4. It's very simple, but it lays out a very crucial concept. In Chapter 5, we'll look at this formula a bit more closely, with an eye toward where does surplus value come from.